Okay, sir, please proceed.
Yeah. Okay, so it has included medical devices and vaccines too. So that is a general aspect of pharmacovigilance program. I think that previously we already discussed. And this is one of the interesting fact when I was going through the certain literature. So reporting and learning system for medication errors, the role of pharmacovigilance centers, this document prepared by the World Health Organization. So where it is mentioned, industries with a perceived higher risk, such as aviation and nuclear power plants, have a much better safety record than health. So this is something unique and something what you call very peculiar about this, because all these industries like this high risk industries have a much better safety record than health. So our health especially in ASU and H drug area, where we have to make it more stringent about these medication errors and other aspect of our drug interactions. So another is reporting in when we are looking at the reporting in homeopathy, where adverse drug reactions. There are several issues because we have conducted more than 6 training programs in this pharmacovigilance program in state of Kerala, and we had an opportunity to interact with many practitioners on this aspect. And what we observe that practitioners' attitude towards pharmacovigilance in homeopathy and is not very positive many times, because they are all thinking in different way. This is a new things, and till today homeopathy has been labeled as a no adverse effect and a safe system, and we are putting something else which may create again a problem for homeopathy itself. And another is unprejudiced observation. So we need such a minute observation for getting drug interaction or adverse drug events in homeopathy, reporting any deviation from the basic observation in a patient after giving prescription. So we have to be very careful about what are the symptoms present and what is the symptom existing patients, or it is a new symptom or something else which we need to report under this pharmacovigilance program, which we need some sort of particular clean observation, because we are not expecting any severe adverse drug reaction as such in what we are observing in the conventional system of medicine. Then fear of implication, if anything happens to the patients and you are reporting the same thing, maybe the doctor will be held for these issues. You will be fearing about all those aspects. Then public exposure to combination prescription. Many people doesn't want to mm, exposed to that type of prescriptions which people are doing it with homeopaths. Many homeopaths are doing it prescriptions, and they don't want to expose to such things to the public domain, and landed up in a problem where they are giving more combination drugs or more than 2 3 drugs at a time, and the patient develops any symptom. They don't want to keep as a adverse drug reaction, rather than they will tell something like pacify the patient, and they will do something else. So image of homeopathy is going to affect. So that is another because thinking of homeopathy physicians, that is not, it is going to affect homeopathy, because homeopathy is already a safe system. No time to fill the data for pharmacovigilance due to busy. That is another area, because most of the busy practitioners, those who are sitting in the morning till evening, and they are looking to the patient for many hours in one patient itself, and they are having a lot of patients in queue, so they may not be able to fill the data, even though they are knowing this, that this after prescribing this medicine, this symptom has developed. They don't want to do those things. Then certain difficult areas in reporting, then method of drug substance and its testing. And because I will be discussing that other area of reporting questionnaires in our uh, this format. and we will be discussing that one by one in later slides. Then whether this material causes the reaction, so we don't know. So we don't have that much substance in that drug, and we cannot confirm whether it is because of our medicine. Then there is another two aspect in pharmacovigilance is de-challenge and re-challenge. So this is also de-challenge means withdrawing the medicines, and re-challenge is again you are applying the medicine, same medicine and same potency. So that is where we want to check it whether this medicine has caused any problem. But this area, it is a very gray area. It may not be able to get such a type of reacts. Then lack standards in minimum doses. So we know that there is a already we know that minimum dose is important for homeopathy prescriptions, but we don't have any standard for minimum doses, and we prepare minimum doses 6 doses, 10 doses, 1 doses. These are all depends on the doctors to doctors and their perception and their philosophical approach. And even for the mother tinctures also, some people prescribe on the basis of the body weight. Some are prescribing only 5 drops or 10 drops, and again mixing with the water is also again changing. So all those aspects are all varies with the physician to physician. Then creating strong evidence on the relationship and ADR in respect to the medicine prescribed when patient having multimorbidity and taking other medicines other than homeopathy. So that is another area. I think previous speaker has told about the drug interaction between these medicines. So we don't know whether these medicines are really acting, really have any interaction or homeopathic medicine while the patient is taking any other medication, because patient will be taking if the multimorbidities, the patient should take from allopathic medicine, some Ayurvedic medicine, some homeopathic medicine like that. So we don't know which medicine has affected such things. Then again, next is our confusing part is homeopathic aggravations really. So homeopathic aggravation is one of the important factor where we have to differentiate both the line. But as a reporter, as a reporting physician, so it is a change from the existing conditions after giving the medicine. So we should report it. Then peripheral pharmacovigilance at National Homeopathy Research Institute in Mental Health. It has started in 2018. So we did a lot of work on this program. Initially, we took in-house training to our own people where they should get trained and should aware about this program. We have trained these technical officers, then postgraduate trainees, nursing staff, and pharmacy staff. So these are the area where we are going to get any signals from these patients, because these people are directly related with the patient safety and patient treatment aspects. So all this aspect which we have completed in our institute, we have completed all this training program, and we try to develop our own reporting format, and later National Pharmacovigilance Center has developed another format which now we are using it. Then we have developed the CME materials for the public, means those who are related with doctors, pharmacists, and all other people, those who are related to this homeo vigilance, pharmacovigilance. Then place the display boards in every OPD room. So what we did actually, many times we are not getting the exact response from these doctors itself. So one doctor is sitting, and we just opposite to that he's sitting that in the wall we made it a board that you have to report if you have any suspected adverse drug reactions. You just report to the pharmacovigilance center of this institute. That board is always visible to the doctors or pharmacists or the nursing staff. So which we made it in every OPD rooms of our institute, OPD and IPD sections of our institute. So this is the CME material which we have prepared for pharmacovigilance. Then further training again we have conducted for the college, medical officers of Government of Kerala, then homeopathic medical college doctors, teachers we have conducted for the interns, which we have conducted. Then awareness program conducted for our senior junior research fellows, and we have almost completed the 6 training program excluding this today's program. So this is the certificate of appreciation which we received from Pharmacovigilance Center, I Suraksha, in 2018-19. So these are the ADR probability scale which we are going to discuss. So you can see that this we will be discussing one by one, and what is the difficulty which we are faced in this ADR reporting will be discussing in next few minutes. And you can see that beneath that scoring system here, actually more than 9 score is certain, and 5 to 8 is probable, and 1 to 4 is possible, and 0 is unlikely. So these are the issue related to this reporting. Previous conclusive reports on reaction. That was the first question. Lack of available prescriptions in detail. So we don't have any. We don't previous prescription details unless the patient comes from a conventional system of treatment. So otherwise, it is very difficult to get a prescription. If a homeopath treats a patient and he never discloses the details of the patient, details of the medicines prescribed, all those things, except in government setups where they give the prescription to their own patients. So otherwise, nobody wants to disclose the prescriptions which you have prescribed for the patient. Then lack of referral forms by previous homeopathy. Generally, in the homeopathic system, in I think in other system also, in ASU and H systems also, they don't refer in a prescribed format to the other centers. Either the patient may be taking treatment their own, or if the doctor is referring, very little reference we are receiving from other centers. So neglecting any observations as eye drugs are safe to be consumed, safe to consume. So they are thinking that these are all safe drugs, and we don't require any type of reporting. And they are just neglecting. Oh, this is not due to that particular medicine or something like that. Just leave it. So they don't want to report those things. The next question we are asking: did the reaction occurred after the suspected drug was administered? So this we can analyze with the medicine prescribed and the time taken for drug reaction. So there won't be any issue for this question answering. Then third one is, did the ADR improved when the medicine withdrawn and antidote prescribed? These are the two things which we have to. They are a little bit difficult for med withdrawn. So because actually withdrawal from a homeopathy prescription, this medicine is not giving, because actually our basic concept is minimum dose and waiting for a few days to get the reaction of the medicine. So that is our basic concept. And when withdrawal is actually not very fruitful, if you are withdrawing, because unless it is an acute conditions, it is very difficult to analyze the withdrawal of this medicine has made any impact on this patient. Then evidence of exact antidote. So though we have a certain group of antidotes are available, but it is very difficult to evaluate such antidote actions in perceptible. It's very difficult to analyze it. Then withdrawal of medicine concept also difficult, as we believe in minimum dose that I already discussed. Then fourth one is, did the reaction reappeared when the drug was re-administered? So this is again a very difficult area where homeopathy is concerned. So re-challenge and sometimes not possible when repeat the doses. Then certain idiosyncratic patients already we come across with the many patients in our practice also. It is very difficult to assess this type of reappearance of symptoms when we are re-administered. Then are there any alternative causes? So this is we can assess easily if there are any alternative causes which has happened this adverse drug reaction. Then sixth one is, was the drug detected in blood in toxic level? This is another question which you have to fill up while reporting this adverse drug reaction, which is not possible. I think every homeopath will be accepting this, because except for some material dose of medicines, otherwise dilutions when we are prescribing, it is very difficult to detect in the blood toxic level in the blood, or whatever the level available in the blood is very difficult to analyze. Was the reaction depend on the increase of dose or decrease of dose? Difficult area again for homeopathy. Dosage vary from prescriber to prescriber, as there are no specific standardized dosing system in homeopathy. That is also very difficult to analyze it. Did the patient have similar reaction with the same drugs or similar drugs? already discussed, disclosing the drug name is important here by the attending physician, because most of the time the physician will not disclose the medicine prescribed, and which is again difficult for us to observe. Then similar medicine, that concept of similar medicine is also very difficult in homeopathic practice, because it is very difficult to compare two different medicines. Since we are believing in concept of individualization, but we can have some group of families or some group of minerals which have similar what you call action, similar component of symptomatology which we can consider. The ninth question is, was the adverse event confirmed by objective evidence? So whether any objective evidence can be observed, can be assessed in this type of patients, which is probably not available in all cases. So it is also little bit difficult in all the cases where this symptom is, there is no objective evidence is available. It's very difficult to report. Then coming back to our data in peripheral pharmacovigilance center. So these are the demographic data which we have actually we have reported around 41 drug events to the to the National Pharmacovigilance Center from this institute. These are the age group which we have reported. We have observed some sort of remedy reaction in this type of patient. So when there is a change in the reaction of patient symptomatology in the patient, we generally our doctors will be reporting to the pharmacovigilance center. So around 41 cases which we have reported in till period. So adverse drug events, these are the we have classified, we have tried to classify those symptomatology of adverse drug events in these patients, and around 16 patients we got a new symptomatology. So they have reported a new symptom after taking this medicine. So whether it is not a, you can as a homeopath you can say it is a not a correct prescription or whatever it may be, but just we have reported that. So that is the only idea. It is not like that after analyzing you will come to know that what are the confirmed result of this adverse drug reaction. But whatever the things comes to us, around 16 cases is we have observed that new symptoms have been reported, and only one case we have observed there is an old symptom reappeared. And about 24 cases you see that aggravation of the presenting complaints which we have observed. That is obviously all homeopaths know that it is a homeopathic aggravation. So this is the category of ADE which we have reported, and just we are going through this, we find that this is the outcome of our data. Then with this reported data analysis, so around 6 is having probable means scoring between 5 to 8. Then possible around 30, there may be a possibility that is a scoring system between 1 to 4, and unlikely is very around 5, it is unlikely. So these are the few things which we have observed in this data. So treatment taken, diagnosis based data. So these are the patients which we have which they have reported adverse drug events or drug reaction to our medications. So you can see that most of the conditions which you have reported is allergic basis, because allergic rhinitis, then bronchial asthma, then allergic cough, then dermatitis. So these are the conditions where they have reported either a new symptom or aggravation of the symptoms or whatever, so which we have reported. So these are the factual reflection of the data from National Hospital Research Institute in Mental Health under pharmacovigilance. So these are the drug events prescriptions. So these are the prescriptions. You see the prescriptions around sulfur became the topmost, have made some sort of reactions in the patients. Then second is the phosphorus, and third one is pulsatilla. So that depends on the condition to condition. So, but at least when they prescribe this type of medicines, this is a compilation of total adverse drug events versus prescriptions. So I think this part is almost completed. So just I will go through few slides which will how to report this ADR to the Pharmacovigilance Center. Either you can directly report to the Peripheral Pharmacovigilance Center or Intermediary Center or National Pharmacovigilance Center in person by post, telephone, email, or uploading the scanned ADR forms in iSuraksha. So that is recently started filling the online version of ADR forms and submission to official website. So this is the method which you can adopt. Then you have to improve your reporting, ensure availability of the ADR reporting form in your vicinity. An easy self-designed ADR form can be introduced to start with. Then drop boxes at various convenient locations are good. Social media like WhatsApp group can be utilized for regular update and motivation. Then the ground realities are wide gap between the knowledge, attitude, and practice of healthcare professionals that we have already discussed in previous slides. Negative belief about the consequences, diagnosis, and treatment of disease. A priority for clinicians are reporting of ADR. Rather, they will not there will be a hesitation to report rather than this treatment part. They will be looking into that. So doctors giving more emphasis on the clinical work rather than devoting time in completing ADR form due to the busy schedule. So I think to overcome all those things, we need some sort of sensitization program, training program on pharmacovigilance, so that we will get an updated confidence to report whatever we are getting into practice, and that has to be made a data backup for homeopathic prescriptions and development and future prescription guidelines for also this is required. So thank you so much for hearing me for this short period, and I would like to welcome Dr. Ram Jyotis for next presentation. So Dr. Gogul, please.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Now, I invite Dr. A.B. Ram Jyotis. Dr. A.B. Ram Jyotis is the professor and head of the Department of Homeopathic Pharmacy, Adurashramam NSS Government Aided Homeopathic Medical College and Hospital, Kottayam. He is having 13 years of teaching experience and has undergone training in experimental pharmacology, biostatistics, and bioethics. He has successfully completed modules on signal detection, causality assessment, statistical reasoning, and algorithms in pharmacovigilance from Uppsala Monitoring Center. Let me invite Professor Dr. Ram Jyotis to present adverse drug reactions in homeopathic drugs. Over to you, sir.
Unmute Ram Jyotis, please.
Hello, Ram Jyotis, sir. Can you hear me?
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Yes, my screen is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Please proceed, sir.
Okay. So this is the last session. The previous two sessions, Professor Acharya sir and Muralidharan sir, they talk about the framework, the methodology, and the factual observations in a pharmacovigilance center. My purpose of presentation is to elaborate on the adverse drug reactions in homeopathic drugs. Though pharmacovigilance have two separate components. That is, one is adverse drug reaction, the reporting of adverse drug reactions, and reporting of objectionable advertisements. So I'm not wasting time on introduction, going to the objective of this today's session. So today's session, the specific learning objective is at the end of this session, learners will able to understand the logical reasoning of causality assessment and an insight on ADR in homeopathic drugs. Many times, often we heard a doubt about pharmacovigilance that what do you mean by ADR? Especially in homeopathy, doctors confuse with it with aggravations, which we commonly used in as a homeopathic term. So that is why I have taken this topic, homeopathic drug. It includes the higher potencies as well as some other tinctures. Now, legally, homeopathic medicines are defined as, I am not reading the definition as such, but I will highlight the points. It should record in homeopathic proving. It should establish the clinical efficacy, therapeutic efficacy by long clinical experience, and it should be prepared according to the techniques of homeopathic pharmacy. If these three components are together, then we can call a drug as homeopathic medicine legally. So that means it includes any type of mother tinctures, any extracts, or even the patent drug also. So now we classify the terms which is used in adverse drug reactions. So the one of such word is adverse drug event and adverse drug reaction. So what is the difference between adverse drug event as well as adverse
Excuse me,
drug
sir.
reactions? Yes.
All the participants are requested to mute their audio. Ramjyoti sir, you are now the host. You can mute the audio down. All the participants are once again requested to mute their audio. Sir, you please proceed.
So the difference between adverse drug event and adverse drug reactions are, adverse drug event is any unwanted medical occurrence and any untoward medical occurrences that may be present during the treatment. It can be without medicine. It can be due to the concurrent diseases, or it can be due to any confounding factors. So anything which happened during the time of treatment may or may not be with the drug. That is called as adverse drug event. Whereas adverse drug reaction is particularly point out to the drug. Any noxious change which is suspected to be due to a drug occurs at normally used in human being, it may require treatment. Maybe it may be antidoted, or it should be the dosage should be reduced, or it indicates a caution for the future use of that medicines. So that is what you mean by adverse drug reaction. So the difference between event and reaction is only due to the drug. Now coming to the classifications of adverse drug reactions, we have side effects, teratogenicity, mutagenicity, and carcinogenicity. Now the common people call adverse reactions as side effects. So there are two types of side effects or adverse drug reactions are there. One is the type A reactions. Type A reactions is the commonly we come across the ADR as a type A reaction. That is because it is predictable. We can predict the reactions, the side effect. It is dose dependent. Once you increase the dose, the reactions also, the symptoms also will increase. And it is also known as augmented reactions. So at every increase in the dose, there will be increase in the symptoms. And they are more common. It is dose dependent, and mostly it is preventable. If you reduce the dose, it can be prevented, and it is reversible. The reactions or symptoms can be reversible also. So these type of reactions in homeopathy we observe in inappropriate use of mother tinctures lower dilutions, and even the lower triturations. On the other hand, type B reactions, we call it as unpredictable reactions. Unpredictable reactions or bizarre reactions. So they are less commonly occur and it is dose independent. There is no need of any particular dose. It is dose independent and generally in conventional pharmacovigilance, it produces serious effect, but in homeopathy, we are not experiencing such serious reactions. And it may be due to the hypersensitivity or idiosyncrasy. So this is what we call as type B reactions. Now, teratogenicity, mutagenicity, and carcinogenicity is very rarely observed in homeopathic drugs. It is the terms which is related to the conventional drug. So what do you mean by teratogenicity? It is a capacity of the drug to cause fetal abnormalities. Whereas the mutagenicity is the capacity of the drug which causes any genetic effect. Whereas carcinogenicity is the capacity of the drug which causes a cancer. Now coming to the terms, Professor Acharya sir and Dr. Muralidharan sir, they were talking about certain assessment terms, certain, probable or possible. So how you give the nomenclature for these terms? So what do you mean by certain? So if any adverse reactions occurring with a plausible time relationship, that means time dependent to the drug administration, which cannot be explained by any other factors, any other confounding factors. That means if any adverse reaction which is directly related to the drug itself, then it is called a certain. And while de-challenging, that means while if you remove the drug, withdraw the drug, the symptoms will be disappear. And again, if you give the drug, if re-challenge, then the symptoms start. So de-challenge and re-challenge should be clinically plausible in certain. And the next one is probable or likely. Here in probable, the difference between certain and probable is the criteria is same, but only difference is the re-challenge is not possible in probable reactions, or re-challenge is not required in probable reactions. So once you withdraw the drug, the symptoms may be stopped or removed, but when you re-administer drug, it may not appear. It may not appear. So that is what is called as probable or likely. Now the next one is possible. Possible is the ADR with a reasonable time sequence to the drug administration. So it can be or cannot be. But it can be also explained by concurrent diseases or any other confounding factors, any other drugs which is related to this treatment. So de-challenge is lacking in possible reactions. Now next one is unlikely. Unlikely, the term which indicates there is unlikely the relationship. That is, ADR is only a temporal relationship to the drug administration, which makes a causal relationship improbable. We cannot assess that it is due to the drug. A plausible explanation is possible with other factors also, due to the underlying diseases or concurrent diseases or any other treatment, any other drugs. Now the next one is conditional. Conditional means more data is essential to establish the relationship between the adverse drug reactions and the treatment, the drug treatment. So such type of adverse reactions are classified as a conditional or unclassified one. Now next one is unaccessible. As the term indicates, the information is insufficient. Information is lacking. More information is required, or the information is contraindicated. Contraindicated. So contraindicated information, if it is there, then it is classified under unaccessible. Now let us see the frequency of adverse drug reactions. So according to the frequency, it is classified as very common if it is more than 10% of adverse reactions. Common, it is between 1% and 10%. Uncommon, if it is between 1% and 0.1%. It is classified as rare. It is between 0.1% to 1%. If it is less than 0.1%, we call it as very rare. adverse drug reactions. So this is about the preliminary terms or assessment terms which is used to describe the adverse drug reactions. Now we'll see the classification of adverse drug reactions or adverse drug events in homeopathy. So here I have classified several types of reactions which we observed in homeopathic aggravations, adverse drug events with aggravation of symptoms but not followed by an improvement, adverse drug reactions or event not expected with appropriate prescription, adverse drug event with inappropriate use of mother tinges and lower dilutions of combination of these. So this is the last, this part is I am going to explain more. Okay. So before that, let us see commonly for a homeopath, adverse drug reactions, the first thing come to the mind is aggravation. So in the literature, we know that we have three types of aggravation we studied: homeopathic aggravation, medicinal aggravation, and disease aggravation. So homeopathic aggravation, now we know that it is a short and sharp aggravation of existing symptoms with a general well-being of or subjective well-being of a patient uh, after the intake of a well-selected medicines, and we usually say that it is a favorable outcome. So not all the cure process except homeopathic aggravation. So homeopathic aggravations can be expected in acute diseases after the initial dose of the medicines or after a few hours of intaking the medicines, and in chronic diseases it appears at the end of the disease. So this is what we commonly observe the homeopathic aggravation. And there are other types of aggravation like medicinal aggravation, which is due to the incorrect medicines or wrong repetition of the medicines or inappropriate dosage, etc. So there will be an appearance of new symptoms or excessive symptoms will be aggravated with the worsening of person's symptoms. So there is no subjective well-being in medicinal aggravations. And all these things people used to confuse with whether it belongs to ADR, but definitely saying it is not ADR, it is medication error. So you have seen the definition of ADR, that is, it is the unwanted symptoms due to the treatment. So if the treatment is correct, there will not be any adverse drug reactions. The second one is adverse drug event with aggravation of symptoms not followed by an improvement. So that is sometimes many new symptoms appears which causes distress to the patient, not followed by an improvement. So it may be due to selection of a wrong medicine or partial simillimum, or a simillimum with incorrect posology. That means inappropriate potency or repetition. Adverse drug event not expected with appropriate prescription. It may be due to subject hypersensitivity. So it may be due to the type B reactions. I told you most of the times adverse drug reactions due to mother changes and lower dilutions, it is classified under type A reactions, whereas these type of reactions, which is we are not expecting, unpredicted one. So adverse drug event which is unpredicted, which is known as type B reaction, and it is due to the hypersensitivity. Susceptibility has a very important role in that. That is what Dr. Muralidharan sir has mentioned in his factual operation. What he has taught is the true and fact observations, and many times the terms which we used in the conventional pharmacovigilance cannot be suited to the homeopathic therapeutics or in pharmacovigilance in the homeopathic medicines because of this inappropriate of the words which is given in the definitions. So many times what we confuse with ADR is nothing but medication errors. Now the last one is adverse drug reactions with inappropriate use of mother tinges and lower dilutions or combination of these. So this is, I told you, this is the type A reaction, and this is what I am going to describe now. Adverse drug reactions in commonly used mother tinges. So I am going to detail about, not going in detail about the whole drug, but the very common mother tinges which we use in common conditions. And many of the many of these mother tinctures may not produce ADR in all the patients, but it can produce symptoms in some individuals, and these symptoms, these ADR or signals which is collected from these medicines are based on some of the studies which is published in some peer-reviewed industry journals, not as a homeopathic mother tincture, but the extract, the crude extract. So the prolonged use of these mother tinctures or inappropriate use of these mother tinctures may cause these signals or these symptoms. First one I am going to explain is Hydrastis canadensis, which is a very common drug which is used in a material dose in mother tincture form. So here I am, the method of explanation of thing is the sphere of action and the common symptoms and the adverse reactions or special precautions. So here the special precautions in Hydrastis canadensis is it should not be used in pregnancy. Normally we may not use mother tinctures during pregnancy, and one of the indication of overdose is it causes ulceration of mucosa, the oral mucosa. It sometimes causes ulceration, and there will be corrosion of the oral mucosa, and it diminishes the vitamin B absorption. So that is also a observation in some studies, and it is contraindicated in hypertension. It may increase the blood pressure. So these observations are taken from this study. So all these observations, all these adverse reactions or unwanted symptoms which come across these medicines is taken from these studies. The next one is ornithogalen ambullatum. That is also a drug which is used in a material dose, and it is commonly used in the cancer of stomach and or indurations, any type of indurations in stomach, and there is painful contractions. So one of the side effects we observed in this ornithogalen is the major side effects is cardiac arrhythmias, and there is a weakness in lower potencies, even in lower potencies, not only in mother tinctures but in lower potencies also. So some symptoms, so in some individuals there is a profuse salivation also observed. In boric they recommended single dose 5 to 10 drops and wait for the action. So this is the dosage given in boric. If it is used inappropriately, then it can result in these type of symptoms. The next one is aloes. So the sphere of action is intestine, portal vein, and rectum. It is usually given in venous congestion, and the diarrhea stool is jelly-like stool. So it causes, in material doses, it causes irritation of intestines, purging, even potency at the level of 3x. It produces these adverse effects. So this is what we observe, alosocotrina. So we cannot observe a severe type of adverse drug reactions in homeopathic mother tinctures because homeopathic mother tinctures are a weak hydroethanolic extract. It is not like a crude extract, and there will be a phytochemical interaction between the
1 minute.
phytochemicals.
So please,
there is an interaction
mute.
between the
All participants, please mute. Please mute your mic. All other participants.
Not girls, no, then my girls.
Please mute your mic.
These adverse drug reactions may be due to the interaction between the phytochemicals. So you know that all these extract contains alkaloids, glycosides or tannins or saponins, etc. So all this pharmacological action is due to these phytochemicals, and with the interaction of these phytochemicals result in the adverse drug reactions. So it is not the medication error, but it is the true adverse drug reactions. Now coming to Hemabilis virginia, that is a very common drug used in mother tincture form, usually giving in venous diseases or the sphere of action is veins, portal or rectal veins. It is used in bruised soreness, passive venous hemorrhages, and varicose veins. And one of the observation in hemamelis is it contains saffron, that is a carcinogen. So a carcinogenic effect can be produced by overuse or prolonged use of hemamelis without any rationale. So we should very careful about using hemamelis for an unjudicial or without any judicial use of this particular drug. So this is a study which I have taken these observations. Next is Gentiana lutea. Gentiana lutea is a very common mother tincture or in a tonic form which we used to give even to children to as an appetitus to increase appetite. And the study shows that it contains many of the heavy metals like zinc, nickel, chromium, plumber, and cadmium. So all these, most of these heavy metals are notorious for causing even the cancer also. So this is a study which I have taken this heavy metal content in this particular plant, Gentiana lutea. So I have seen many of the practicing physicians, they have given Gentiana lutea extract, even not in the form of tonic also, even in extract, in mother tincture form to the children. So please avoid that. Next important drug is Halorina antidysenterica, which is commonly known as Curchi. It is used in acute and chronic dysentery in a material dose in mother tincture form. Even though we use a very small dose, 5 drops every 2 hourly, so the frequent repetition in acute cases may be beneficial in this type of acute diseases, but it may cause a mild ADR like a bitter taste, a prolonged one, or a loss of appetite for a long duration, or a gripping colic. Even after the disease, the dysentery cures, a gripping colic may continue for some time. Okay, so it should be avoided in pregnancy. It causes hypertension. It drops the blood pressure. It causes insomnia if you use for a long time. Normally, Halorina antidysenterica or Curchi will not use for prolongedly because it is used for an acute dysentery. So this is about the mother tinctures which is used in gastrointestinal tract diseases. The next one is hepatobiliary system. So mostly these are the tinctures: Cardus marianus, Chelidonium majus, Berberis vulgaris, Calmette. These are the important mother tinctures which we used in the hepatobiliary system, the liver diseases. So the adverse effect which we observe is the skin allergy. So this is a type of this Cardus marianus. It can cause both type 1 reaction as well as type B reactions. So type 1 reaction is it can cause any type of liver toxicity, or thereby it causes the insulin resistance. And type B reactions, visceral reaction, is a skin allergy in some individuals, those who are susceptible to it. So that is observation made in Cardus marianus. So these are the studies which I referred for Cardus marianus. Silymarin induces insulin resistance through an increase of phosphatase and tensing homolog in blister. This is an animal study which proved that silymarin, that is a active principle which is there in Cardus marianus, which induces the insulin resistance. Now next very important drug is Chelidonium majus, which we commonly used in mother tincture form, and it can cause gastroenteritis as well as hepatotoxicity. Now, Chelidonium majus is a medicine which is used for liver diseases, but it can cause sometimes hepatotoxicity also. So judicial use of Chelidonium mother tincture is recommended. So this is taken from one of the very important book, Frontiers in Pharmacology. So they have made a systematic review of Chelidonium majus. They collected several data from this from several sources, and they compiled the data. Now the next one is Berberis vulgaris, and this is also a very common drug which is used in mother tincture form, especially in the renal pain, nephrolithiasis, polylithiasis, and even the pain also. And the physiological action, it promotes the bile flow and it acts on the pelvic vein, and it is again indicated in pregnancy. And there is a disruption of sex hormone synthesis by the prolonged use of Berberis vulgaris mother tinctures. It sometimes causes nephritis in if the dose is more, if you use it for a long time in very large doses. So normally what I found is if you give a mother tincture, that also can be given in minimum dose. For example, 4 dose or 5 dose or 6 dose maximum or 8 dose. So people are expecting there are two types of action which we observed in mother tinctures. One is the pure pharmacological action and second one is the homeopathic action. Isn't it? So when you want, that is based on your intention to give. And when you expect a homeopathic action, you always give in minimum dose. But in contrary, if you are giving in a large dose, you expect a pharmacological dose, and that is not homeopathy. That is herbal therapy, not homeopathy. If you give Rauwolfia mother tincture to reduce blood pressure, then that is not homeopathy, because we are not applying the law of similia there, and that is merely a herbal therapy. Though in our legal definition of homeopathic drug, the mother tinctures also are included, but according to our philosophy, the law of similia should be applied. Then only it becomes a homeopathic drug. Now coming to the next one, that is Calmake, which is a very common drug in liver diseases, especially people used to give even for children also. And so one of the main feature or main area which is observed in Calmake is it induces sterility in males, and it is a common drug which is used to give to improve appetite in hepatitis. After the hepatitis is cured, people may have some loss of appetite. So Calmake is one of the best drug to regain the appetite, and but it cannot be used for a long time. So these are the adverse effects which it induces abortions also. So next one is the respiratory system. These are the 4 drugs which I included: Grindelia, Lobelia, Passiflora, and Gestatia. The first one we see the Grindelia robusta. It's a very common drug which is used to give in acute cases of asthma, wheezing, and the characteristic features of Grindelia in asthma is wheeze, sibilant rales, difficulty in breathing, especially aggravation by lying down. These are the classical features of bronchial asthma, and it may cause some type B reactions in some individual, those who are susceptible. It causes allergy, it causes gastric irritation and diarrhea, and again this should not be used in pregnancy. Normally normally people doctors will not use mother tinctures in pregnancy, and we should not. Next is Lobelia inflata, which is another drug which is used in allergic rhinitis as well as hyperventilative disease like asthma or bronchitis. And here the indication is vomiting of mucus, sensation of pressure in the chest generated by rapid walking. So here the adverse reaction observed is loss of uterine tone, dizziness, vomiting, and nausea. So these can be the type A reactions. So that means inappropriate dose, large dose of Lobelia if you take, it result in these type of reactions. So this is taken from another study which is published in Medical Herbalism, that is Lobelia is toxic. The next one is Passiflora incarnata. Is a very common drug which is used for inducing sleep. So homeopathic sleeping pills usually practitioners called, and it also can be used for a spasmodic cough. And one of the case report which I found in Journal of Toxicological and Clinical Toxicology. So one case was reported in a hospital, 34 years old female who developed severe nausea, vomiting, drowsiness, and prolonged QT interval, and episode of non-sustained ventricular tachycardia following self-administration of herbal remedy Passiflora incarnata. So this is a OTC drug which is obtained in any of the shop. So the patient was self-administered these medicines and result in these symptoms. And this report says that there is a plausible time relationship with the administration of this Passiflora extract, which result in these reactions, these symptoms. So they conclude that Passiflora incarnata was associated with a significant adverse effect in this patient. So it is important to ask specifically about the use of herbal medicine. So our homeopathic mother tongue is not different from the herbal medicines. Only difference is it is a weak herbal extract. Though it is a herbal extract, it contains phytochemicals which is responsible for this type of reactions, even type A reaction and type B reactions. The next one is Gestation adothoda, which is a very commonly used acute medicines, even in low potencies and mother tinges, in cough with sneezing, especially with the tightness across the chest. So this also I found one case report regarding Gestation adothoda. It causes an abortion effect. It causes abortion due to the phytochemical. I told you the adverse drug reactions are due to the phytochemicals. Here, the responsible phytochemical is macicine, which is an alkaloid derived from a plant which is appeared. So this is the essence of this case report. I am not reading this entire abstract of this case report, but you should understand that it may cause oxytoxic and abortive effect because of the macicine alkaloid. Next one is a urinary system. So I have included 4 medicines. The first one is Equisetum hyemale, where it is used in anorexia and dysuria. Symptoms are frequent urging, pain at the close of urinations, and urination only by drop. So it causes loss of muscular control if it is inappropriately used. If the dose is small or the quantity is small, it induces loss of appetite. It causes hypokalemia. So these are the observations we made from certain study. The next one is Uva ursi. It's a very common drug used in cystitis and pyelitis as well as the calculus inflammation, where there is a hematuria, tenesmus, and burning after slimy urine. Even it causes pyuria. So here it may cause maculopathy, and it contained a glycoside known as hydroquinone, and it can be hepatotoxic also. So prolonged use of Uva ursi in any type of cystitis is not recommended due to these effects. So these are some signals we observed from some studies. Another one is Chimaphila umbellata. So I'm not going detail about the indications and symptoms or the clinical indications, but we'll concentrate on the adverse drug reaction. It reduces the mineral absorption from the gut on long-term use. This is observation we made, and many times we observe that there is a relationship between the drug interactions. So what is called as drug relationship. So we have a inimical relationship, we have an antidotal relationship, etc. So this is according to the conventional, the terminologies which is used in conventional pharmacovigilance. It is nothing but drug interactions. So normally this drug interactions will not come under adverse drug reactions. That is a separate entity. Next one is hydrangea. Hydrangea is a very common drug which is used for a ureter or a renal calculi, dominantly left side. There is a sharp pain in the loins. It's also indicated in enlarged prostate, and it causes allergy in sensitive patient due to the hydrogen. This is a responsible saponin which causes allergy in hypersensitive patients, and it also contains cyanogenic glycosides which causes the toxicity. Cyanogenic glycoside is a very toxic substance, and if you take hydrangea in larger quantities or it is used as a prolonged duration, then it can cause some toxicity which result in adverse drug reaction. Sometimes what happens is these, even though if the patient uses in small doses, even 8 drops or 5 drops, so there is a cumulative effect of these mother tinges. After a prolonged period, if the drug is administered for a long period, there may be some cumulative effect, especially it induces hepatotoxicity. And I'm come to the end of my presentation. I have tabulated some reported side effects of some very commonly used mother tinges. Rolfia. Rolfia is the most notorious drug when used in mother tinges especially, and it is unfortunately it is a most frequently used mother tincture in homeopathy, and it can cause these effects. It is a tranquilizer, bradycardia, salivation. It can cause inhibition of menstruation, feminization, and even it causes some psychiatric illness. We have enough of case report from the side effects or adverse drug reactions from the Rolfia, even in the mild dose also. Next is the panacetin. It is considered as a comparatively safe drug, but it causes some type B reactions because it possesses a histamine liberating property which indicates caution for asthmatic as well as emphysema patients. The last one is the Biscum album. In large doses of Biscum, proteins produce anemia and hemorrhage from the liver and intestinal hemorrhage. So remember these effects, these adverse drug reactions are not always reported from the homeopathic mother tinges. The weak ethanolic or hydroalcoholic extract, but it is expected from the crude doses, but it can prolonged use of homeopathic mother tinges also. So now my take home message is we should have a thorough knowledge about the essential characters of the drug that are to be used in the treatment to ensure safety, and obtain that a right drug at right dose, at right route, at right time for the right person. That is, the homeopathic posology should be guided. So that is about my presentations, and certain things I want to highlight is not all the adverse reactions observed in homeopathic drugs are not really adverse drug reaction, but it may be due to the medication error also. So sound alike or look alike drug can be. So that can be a medication or prescription error. Professor Acharya sir already mentioned about certain type of dosage errors and therapeutic errors. So this also can be a cause of adverse drug reactions in homeopathy. So this is about my presentations, and this is only an insight to the adverse drug reaction. So we can explore more about, as Muralidharan sir has told about, he has presented some of the factual data. So one thing I want to highlight is certain terminologies which is used in pharmacovigilance is not applicable in homeopathy as a system of medicine, because de-challenge and re-challenge may not be possible to define certain assessment, because re-challenge and de-challenge is very essential to define a casualty assessment as a certain, but that may not be possible always with the homeopathic medicines. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your presentation. So, to conclude, drugs may react in different manners after administration. Sometimes they may respond excessively and sometimes mildly. Sometimes they may not show any effect. So, right drug in right dose at right place will not manifest any complications. Thank you, sir. Now, I request Dr. Vinita ER, Grade 1 Scientist and Assistant Professor, Department of General Medicine, NHRIMH, to deliver vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Gokul. Good evening, all. I take this opportunity to thank Professor Dr. V.D. Ravi Narayan Acharya, sir, Dean and HOD, Department of Dravya Guna, IPGT, Jamna Nagar, for giving us a detailed description on the various aspects of pharmacovigilance and its importance in alternative systems of medicine. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank our respected officer in charge, Dr. Muralidharan sir, who is also in charge of the pharmacovigilance department of our institute, for his discussion on the practical issues in ADR reporting within the homeopathic system of medicines and its implementation in our institute, and for organizing this webinar, sir. Thank you, sir. I also thank Professor Dr. A.B. Ram Jyoti sir, HOD, Department of Homeopathic Pharmacy, ANSS Homeopathic Medical College, Kottayam, for his talk on adverse drug reactions in homeopathic drugs and the logical reasoning for the casualty assessment and the ADR observed in some homeopathic mother tinctures. Thank you for your valuable presentation, sir. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Gokul, who is assistant to Dr. Muralidharan sir in Pharmacovigilance Department of our institute, for coordinating this webinar in an effective manner. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all the faculties, officers, students, and all the participants who joined this webinar and made it successful. And I would also like to thank our respected Director General CCRH, Dr. Anil Khurana sir, who was not able to join due to his busy schedule, but who is rendering all the moral support for this webinar. Thank you once again. Thank you one and all.
Thank you.
Over to you, Dr. Gokul.
Thank you, one and all. Today's sessions are now over.